Welcome back to the Cheltenham Festival preview. Thursday we continue looking at the first race, which is the JLT Novices Chase, and since its inception back in 2011, now a Grade 1 of course more recently. Only one British winner, that was Defi Du Seuil 5 years ago, but it's the Brits to the fore. Defi Du Seuil, it sounds like this is the option, not the Arkle, 3-1, Old Foe, Lostintranslation 130, Real Steel 7s, Kildesart 9s, Glenforsa Arkle bound is 10s. Right, the two at the top, they've clashed the last twice. Dave Nevison, when they meet again at Cheltenham in the JLT, which one comes out on top?
Well, I think Lostintranslation, by virtue of the fact that he's back at Cheltenham. I think it suits him better than Sandown did. He's possibly a more, well, maybe I'm just not as warm to Defi Du Seuil as I should be, but I think he's a more straightforward performer. Big, thoroughly likeable chasing type. My only wonder in this race is I think he might be a 2 mile 6 to 3 mile, gradually becoming a 3 mile horse. And might just lack the speed to win a race like this, but he's entitled to be very, very closely matched in the betting, didn't they? Wasn't it £3 difference here, Defi Du Seuil? But he was just better suited by this race.
I was going to say, Martin, do you think, we don't know who's going to run, how many go in the JLT, it's not always the biggest field by any means, of course. Do you think the scenario is going to pan out more favourably to Lostintranslation?
No, I would be tipping the other way. I think Defi Du Seuil is the horse that should be favourite. There's obviously two horses that are closely matched. We know that from what we've seen. I think the key point here that a lot hasn't been made of it as far as I know, but it's when they met, it was It was the same course, the new course, but It was an extended 2.5 miles. It's a different start point for the race next week, so it's just short of 2.5 miles. So in effect, they're running about 175 yards or so shorter in the JLT than when they met at Cheltenham at the trials meeting, or on New Year's Day, sorry. So I think that will ultimately play to the strengths of Defi Du Seuil more. You know, it's a shorter trip on the same track, and he got to the front and was maybe outstayed. I don't know, maybe he got there too soon. Whatever you think it was, I think the shorter trip will play to the strengths of Defi.
So we've got Dave Lostintranslation, Defi Du Seuil, Martin.
I think it's 1.5, 1.5. I think it's really hard to choose between them. I think that I personally am just slightly warmer towards Lostintranslation.
Yep.
What Dave said about him next year, they definitely think he's a 3 miler plus a Gold Cup horse for next year. They believe that he was done for speed at Sandown. Like Martin says, well, he's mentioned the distances of the ground. Defi Du Seuil just has that slight, not black mark against him, but the fact that when a lot of Philip Hobbs' horses weren't firing last winter, his season was something of a no-show. It's very, very close, but I think if you put a gun to my head, I'd probably just go with Lostintranslation.
It's interesting what you said about the 3 mile thing, because speaking to Joe last week, I think he's not in the RSA, but I think were he to have been entered, I think there'd have been a bit of a conundrum as to which race to run him in. So Defi Du Seuil's 3s. Lostintranslation 130, Real Steel. We'll get the thoughts of Kate and also Gary hopefully in a few moments' time. And it shouldn't be discounted Kildesart, who is progressing. I think they thought the Close brothers. He's now rated out of that. But it's been the plan to take him to a 2.5 mile Novices Chase. He missed the festival 2 races actually last year, just by 1, I think, on each occasion over hurdles. But he now gets his run in the JLT. Ben Pauling sees him as his leading chance of the week. Right.